some fantastic speakers and very eminent chairpersons. The theme of the session is Role of Millets in Nutrition Markets, a perspective of Indian food industry. To chair the session, we have Mr. Suhash R. Joshi. Mr. Suhash R. Joshi is currently the head of sustainability and business stewardship South Asia Bayer Group. He is also the founder and the chairman of the Bayer Foundation India. He has held senior management positions in some of India's leading agribusiness companies, with his experience ranging from marketing to strategy planning. He has hands-on understanding on contract farming operations, setting up farm-based supply chains, handling legal and ethical issues. His work on social compliance in agriculture supply chains has received international acclaim and has been published as a case study by the Harvard Business Review. With years of experience of managing political issues and solving unprecedented crises, Mr. Suhas is a leader and known for achieving success. Welcome, Mr. Suhas. It's indeed a great pleasure to have you here. To co-chair this eminent session, we have Mr. Hemendra Mathur. Mr. Hemendra has over 24 years of experience in venture capital, private equity, and management consulting and investment banking. Mr. Hemendra in his career has invested in several early stage agri-tech and mid-sized companies in agricultural supply chain. He's a mentor, investor, and board member in many food and agri-tech startup working on innovation areas such as agri-inputs, market linkages, mechanizations, food, nutrition, and value chain financing. He's working as a venture partner with Bharat Innovation Fund, investing in early stage deep tech startup across sectors. Mr. Hemendra is also the co-founder of Think Ag, a platform for accelerating the adoption of innovation in agriculture space. He's also the chairman of the FICCI Task Force for Agri Startups. Welcome, chairpersons, and I hand over the session to you. Thank you so much for chairing the session.
I can't hear you, Suhas. We can't hear you.
Am I audible? Good afternoon, everyone. Is it better now?
Yes,
Good,
it's better now. Thank you.
So, Nazneen, thank you very much for the introduction. And all the gentlemen and ladies on the panel, it's my pleasure and honor to be with you today and have a discussion on this very, very important topic. Just to have to set a context to this discussion, I would use next 2 to 3 minutes. I've been hearing some presentations since morning, and also millet being a very interesting crop of mine, have had various discussions in the past with Dr. Rao and Dr. Tonapi on this topic. Let me summarize everything that I have heard and that I have discussed in the past. So India being a very young country, as far as the political autonomy is concerned, as well as the demographics are concerned. We've been independent for only 70 years, and therefore the problems we face are multiple. There are multiplicity of problems, plethora of problems we as a country face, we as a society face on a daily basis. But some of them are very critical. One is the agrarian crisis, and another is the public health crisis. And when we look at the agrarian crisis, the shortage of water or humidity or the drought, that has been bothering us for decades now. And that is worsening year by year. The number of farmers, the number of regions currently facing water shortage are many, and every year we find more and more regions coming under water shortage. The climate change, it's increasing the frequency of these droughts. So there is a resource shortage. Another problem we have in agrarian crisis is the limited credit availability. Our farmers, hardly 50% of the farmers get the farm credit, and many of them get it from informal sectors. And 50% of another part, they don't even get the money to invest in their crops. So they have limited liquidity available. And several problems within agriculture. At the same time, public health is equally important and equally challenging. We have malnourishment, children, 44 or more than 50% of the population, including women and children, not well nourished. 10%, a little less than 10% population is diabetic, and several other health issues. Now it looks like we have found a silver bullet, and that silver bullet is millet. Very little water requirement, very limited investment for a farmer, a short duration crop, reasonably comparatively a short duration crop, and health wise very nutritious, good fiber content, slow breaking down sugar. Looks like everything is perfect. However, all of us know that in real life there is nothing called a silver bullet. So while we have, it looks like a best solution for all our problems, still millet doesn't fetch good pricing to the farmer. It doesn't earn good income to the farmer. The prices remain depressed, hardly 20-25 rupees a kg, and therefore the acreage is small. And what are the, why the prices are not growing if we just try to think about it? Because there is no industrial use of millet. The industry, the food industry, is still not able to develop products and portfolio based on the millet with a large scale market potential, and therefore having a demand for millet something similar to that of, say, rice or wheat or any other crop. And that's why the partnership or contribution of the private industry becomes important with the public institution like IIMR to develop this crop further. Unless we mainstream this crop, unless we make this accepted by the market, it is not going to, the demand scale is not going to grow, and the farmers, the demand at the farmer level will remain limited. So that is the objective of today's discussion, how private sector or industry can contribute to this seemingly beautiful crop, these supposedly silver bullet, how together we can contribute to the growth and development of this crop. With this, I would request the esteemed panelists to have a quick introduction. All of you, please have your self-introduction around 30 to 35 seconds. Maybe I would request Dhruti to start with that, please.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Dhruti Bal. I lead the nutrition team in the Britannia R&D, which is based out of Bangalore. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes,
Hello.
you are.
You are.
Yeah, thank you. Very thank you so much for this opportunity, Dr. Dayakar, and the entire IIMR team. And it has been from, I could not join in the morning, from the afternoon sessions I have been listening to different presentations. It has been indeed a good learning from whatever we know, and going forward from there. We'll be speaking basically on what millets hold for Britannia and how we have been working on this. Yeah, to start with, IIMR and Britannia R&D, we had some projects which was collaborative in the year of 2013-14 to introduce various millets into the product portfolio. which stopped at certain point of time, and still we are exploring the usage of various millets. However, there are some certain roadblocks which come in the usage of these millets, as Suhas Doshi just told, that while we use it, there has to be a consumer knowledge base, acceptability, and the evidence based that data generation that has to be there. So when we come one by one, first of all, coming to the procurement, what we understand from the procurement team which is there in Britannia, that one of the major challenges is the quality. So these are the millers who do not know what are the quality standards that has to be there to meet the requirement as per the FSSI, FSSR. So whenever we go for a quality audit or a quality check, it goes to certain stages and it stops over there. And the major roadblock being the foreign body contamination, which and then we go and we try to get in do certain safety measures and all, but somehow it stops over there. That is one of the roadblocks. In this perspective, it will be great if the IMR handholds these millers in letting them know what are the different measures that can be taken. Let it be storage, let it be processing, or sometimes it is as the basic thing of getting a capital. Sometimes they do not. If the government can help them, so that they can set up the the machinery all by itself, which is one of the inputs that I can give. Other than that, what we see is that even if the millets are there, there is, as I understand from and agree with Dr. Asna's presentation, which was there some time back, is the lack of proper nutritional epidemiological evidence, which then translates into consumer understanding and thus the claims. So without that, howsoever, all understand that the millets are very good for health. It has a lot of benefits, and the variety of millets are various. You just take it proso, kodo, or the little millet, finger millet. But yes, it has to have a scientific sound, scientific knowledge. While it is there, as Joanna was saying, it is all in bits and pieces overall. So if there can be a hub, as Dr. Dayakar's nutrition hub, it is there, where all this is available, in the Indian perspective, and based on that, based on the scientific knowledge, how we can generate data, then go into the next step of creating, claims. I think that is where industries can use this in their products portfolio, make it to proper consumer understandable language. Hence, there will be a sync over there, and there will be a both demand from the consumer, and the industry will be able to meet the requirements over there. And thus, what Dr. Anura said, we'll agree with that. So we will be, as an industry, will be contribute to the 100 grams per day millet requirement. I think these are my thoughts. I will just rest my case over here and listen from the other panelists over here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dhiruti. I would request Ganesh to start with a bit of your own introduction, and then your perspective on this topic, say 2 to 3 minutes. Ganesh, please.
Good evening, Suhas. Good evening, panelists. Thank you, Dr. Dayakar Rao, for having me today in this panel. It is my privilege to be a part of this group. I am the business head for ITC Foods, handling staples, snacks, noodles, and meals for ITC Foods. The brands are Ashirvad, Bingo, Yippee, and Kitchens of India. To be able to sit in a panel of esteemed and learned people such as you, the only right I have is that my team has been able to, in the last 2 years, with a lot of work along with Dr. Dayakar and his team, launch 3 millet products in the marketplace, and we have had a good response. I think I would like to build on that experience and share with this panel. We have today in Ashirvad 3 products. and all of them are whole millet products. Basically, a multi-millet mix, flour, a gluten-free flour, and an Ashirvad ragi flour. Now, these are three products in which we are trying to popularize or repopularize millets to people who have been consuming these products at a traditional level, but have forgotten it over a period of time. And we have basically brought these products out for targeted consumers like those with celiac disease with the gluten-free flour. And it's a product that has got jawar, ragi, and a little bit of flaked rice and dehydrated potato, and in which we are able to bring back through millets the joy of eating a chapati to those who have a gluten problem. In a multi-millet mix, and the way we are trying to market it, this product is basically made out of jawar, nawane, bajra, ragi, and quinoa, and it's 100% millet mix, where we have popularized this product digitally as well as through advertising in print, etc., where the incorporation of this millet mix in dosages that a housewife finds it convenient in a dosa or in a roti or in a chapati, and bring it into a daily use. And a ragi flour we have brought about because it is fairly popular in Karnataka and in the southern parts of the country, where the consumer has found a need to use these products. Apart from this, we have used millets in our digestive cookies. And at the moment, my team is also working in developing whole millet snacks. And I believe that if we are able to come in a zone of snacks where it's a whole millet product, and there are different ways of making these products and the technologies that we are putting to use with some international collaboration, I believe that this would be a route going forward in dealing with how to bring millets to the market. Fundamentally, as I understand, is that we have to enhance value that Suhas pointed out in the agrarian crisis, where the farmer needs to realize better value. And there is no other way than enhancing value with the customer in fulfilling consumer needs, adding value on a scientific basis, and creating a product with higher value, wherein the value chain as a result is able to transfer better prices for better quality of millets. And in this aspect, I have 3 to 4 areas in which I would suggest, right? One is, if we decide that millets is for mass consumption, then yes, the midday meal program, the women and child development program, using benefits of nutrition like calcium and iron, and a drink mix is very much possible where it is as good as milk, and it's incorporated into some of these diets for the nature of the product that can be easily developed, and it can be made tasty for the child to consume in a manner where it is not forced down the throat, but he asks for it or she asks for it. Right? That's the challenge of product development, and I guess organizations such as these are able to work along with the government and introduce it into schemes where it can be consumed in a manner and there is a demand that is created. There is also a value-added area apart from a mass market idea that I had thrown a little earlier. The value-added area is to bring out the benefits, the scientific benefits, like the earlier panelists talked about, with scientific evidence, clinical research, that if it does have a benefit on lowering blood sugar, right, can we proceed and develop a few scientific papers, work along with FSSAI, have them clinically proved, and bring about a value for people who need this. Gluten-free is one example. Sugar and diabetics related is another example. And we bring about the values of iron, calcium, zinc, and some of the nutritional parameters are fantastic. The third aspect that I would say is, let's make a champion millet like quinoa for India. Now, and there are so many of them, and to market this world over with such high levels of production is imminently possible. And the moment we take it to a higher profile with the fashion at one level, if I was to just call it as a fad that's happening, and people are all demanding millets internationally, it is a way of positioning this in the international markets, in making this millet fantastic for consumers to access from international markets and develop export markets as well. Last but not the least, we need to work with the esteemed FSSAI in certain parameters in developing regulations, whether it is, the alcoholic acidity in whole flour, whether it is the moisture content in whole flour. We know the way the Indian commodity works, and even the protein. There are 3 levels at which there is a policy that is in draft stages, and this needs intervention. And if the scientific community can give the realistic perspective, it will help in making these products more accessible with a slightly longer shelf life, by which the product doesn't deteriorate. So in short, given the context, I thought I'll introduce this, and the organization of ITC with Ashirvad and Sunfeast are committed to the millet mission in their own way, and we are promoting products through this. And I wish the whole conference a success. It has been enlightening for me for hearing Joanna and the earlier speakers, and I hope to continue my work in this area.
Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you very much. Particularly, I greatly support the idea of glamorizing millet to explore the international market. That would be a very important step we will have to take together. That would work wonders. Thank you. Madhvi, can I please request you to give your perspective, also with a bit of your introduction, please?
Thank you, Suhas. And I have to first thank Dr. Dayakar Rao, Nazneen, IIMR, and all the co-panelists and attendees, because I think, unfortunately, because the invite came in late, some of my calendar was blocked and I missed the morning, but I think afternoon has been amazing. So there's so much that's already been said here. So first, to introduce me, I've been with Kellogg for 13 years, and I lead their nutrition and scientific affairs for the whole EMEA region. So I think initially the focus on millets was originally for India, but now as I have taken over other markets, I'm realizing that, we have fantastically millet eating populations where we have China, South Africa, Korea, and, I've been kind of, trying to build that salience with business in different regions. So I think as a nutritionist, a lot has been said today about the nutrition and health benefits, and I'm not really going to dwell on that. But there's something that I'd like to actually bring to this group, is the outside-in approach, as we kind of, develop commercially viable products. And just to give you an example, we have an accepted product, which is our Ragi Chocos. It started with a very small thinking when the marketing team came to us and said, what can we do on Chocos? Yeah, it's a kid's brand. What can we do? And as a mother, I had always given Ragi Maah, which is malted ragi, to my 2 boys, who are young men today. And I said, ragi is such a popular weaning food. It already has salience with mothers, that it's good for children. And then we went to Karnataka, which, even Mr. Ganesh just mentioned, it's a big market, to talk to mothers, right, with my insights team. And I think a lot of people said, children grow out of it. They don't like ragi anymore. And we had chef also say the same thing, that you have to make it very glamorous for kids. And that's where the whole thought process started for us, that what if we really get ragi into our chocos, and it becomes it's a win-win, because mothers know goodness of ragi. Yeah, there is something, we already fortify our food. It comes with its inherent benefits, and that's how we have a successful product in the market. Last year in October, actually, we launched a very beautiful product in Korea. you know, and we worked around that, which has none of the grains that we commonly consume. So it's made with brown rice, barley, black rice, lentil, and sorghum, you know, and that is where, you know, it's just introduced. It's mainly for people who are wellness seekers and healthy aging population. So that's also just October 2019 we've introduced and doing well. And I think this is a slow and steady win. But some of the things that I would like to bring to the table, and not to repeat, but land some outside in perspective. When we actually work for the food industry, it's the consumer at the core, right? And we start there. And how do we make this possible that, you know, people believe and start eating? So I just want to land some of the trends, because everything ultimately gets associated with trends. So if you see some of the top trends for the last 5 years, energy continues to prevail as a trend. And with 10 billion mouths to feed in 2050, I think, you know, you find that millets are very well placed actually to really give you that point of confidence where we will be able to, if millets really can get to the population worldwide by 2050, and obviously I think 2023 is the break year where we have to make it happen, will happen. The other thing that people actually look at these days is that foods that are naturally functional. They don't want things, you know, where things are added, or, you know, they want all wellness seekers today are searching for things which have intrinsic goodness. And we've been hearing since morning that, you know, millets have lots to offer in this area as well. The other big thing is digestive wellness. I know gluten-free is one of the outcomes of digestive wellness, and a lot has been said on that, right? Because we have people who really have celiac disease, and there are people who actually are gluten reducers just for wellness pursuit. So I think that's one aspect of it. But the other point that I want to land today, especially in the time of pandemic, is that, you know, 70% of our immune cells actually sit in the gut. You know, so if millets are high in fiber, we all know that the good bacteria, that is the bifidobacteria, etc., which are required for the healthy gut microbiome, feed on these fiber. And so it again becomes very important to build this association for communication to people today, that fiber helps feed good bacteria. The other big trend that we keep seeing is plant-based, right? We are actually having the West following meatless Mondays and, you know, really cutting down on their meat consumption, etc. That is one aspect. And that is where, again, you know, we have a glamorous way in which we can position the millets. But more importantly, I think plant diversity, which is also very closely tied back to the microbiome thing, because there is a lot of science that is projecting that if somebody eats 30 different plants each week, yeah, that person has a healthy, diverse microbiome. And in this kind of pandemic times when everybody is seeking wellness, I think this is one of the other aspects that millets can latch on to. The other thing for Indians, and I think it's a very big trend which kind of is really growing in leaps and bounds, is the provenance and authenticity. So as we know, right, that if something is proven goodness for centuries, right, you don't even have to say. So like almonds for Indians, honey, saffron, right? Some of those things are turmeric today, right? So I think those things are ingrained. So while the Western people can probably call it as ancient grains, I don't think we should even get there, because for us it is traditional grains. So how can we kind of build that provenance and authenticity in our communication and get more people to believe? The other, obviously the biggest mega trend is sustainability. Today, actually, it's no longer a fad. It's an absolute imperative. And we know that millets will fantastically fit this bill, not only from human health perspective, but also planetary health perspective. And then the other things where I want to kind of just highlight, because there's a lot of talk in this era of keto and paleo diets, right? That carbs are bad. Now, I think the whole piece of work that probably industry can build together, you know, we are a carb eating nation. And so how do you like diversify or bifurcate the concept of good bad carbs versus bad carbs? And millets definitely sit in the good carb space. So these are, I think, some of the points that I'd like to land. And so what's the way forward for industry basically? Yeah, how do you make millets appealing and acceptable? I think lots has been said about that. what can be those taste parameters, sensorial parameters, what can be the things that can help the shelf life, okay, to get more iron and other micronutrients. How can, processing basically, and that is where, organizations like IIMR can come in to handhold industry together and, continuously communicate through government mass education programs, get the woman of the house actually, really bought into this particular space, which is very important. I think that's a little bit from my end.
Thank you, Madhvi. I have a follow-up question, but I would reserve it for the second part, since we need to manage the time. I would request Raghu now to please give his perspective.
Good afternoon to everyone, and I would like to thank Dr. Dayakar for providing this opportunity, and also kind of IIMR for organizing such a wonderful platform here. I think I probably could say Dr. Madhvi and Mr. Ganesh has made the set in terms of perfect pitch. I'll probably ask from MTR as a group how we are placed to kind of offer the solution from millet perspective. I'll divide that into 3 segments: what we are doing, what could be done, and where are the challenges from an industry perspective. So what, as an organization from MTR, we are doing is kind of celebrate millets. Essentially, we do food festivals across AP, Telangana, and Karnataka. Just to call out, yes, last food festival which we did was in Karnataka, which called Karunada Swada, wherein we actually go out and bring in the best food formats or the culinary cuisines which are kind of can be turned out by using millets. And we actually get a lot of traction from people who are not aware of it as a food option or a food solution, being made aware of such offerings, which essentially helps us to generate consumer excitement, which in turn helps us to develop products. And to name a few, we also have a lot of products. To cut the list short, we have ragi idli, ragi dosa, ragi being used as one of the primary ingredient in our platforms of solutions, which we offer as a convenient food format, which is ready to use and ready to cook as an option. We also have come up with this space, which is hyper convenient solution for millennials. How to generate and appeal to the millennial consumers is what we have kind of understood. And convenience drives the kind of platform to take this value addition, as Mr. Ganesh kind of pitched. So adding value to the space of convenience, just add hot water and your breakfast or a meal is ready kind of concept. We've launched few products wherein we are also working towards generating an incorporation of millets. Essentially, that space is really, really exciting for us and shared a lot of learnings for us. To give a perspective, as Dr. Madhvi said, the ragi malt is something which we also have as a platform or a product which we sell. Unfortunately, the scale is not that big, and consumer acceptance at a local level and a metro level is really poor. And at the local and rural level, this product sells because there is an acceptance, also relevance to the consumers. So that's a kind of scenario which we are doing as an organization, MTR. What could have been done, I think, is an element which probably most of you have pitched already. The nutrient density of millets, everybody knows. Everybody is aware of the scientific community. How do we ingrain this into a housewife? How do we make this relevant to a mother who is maybe or may not be aware of it? Is a space which we need to look at, because nutrient density is a platform or a communication which is understood by people like us who are food scientists or nutritionists kind of status. The more and more we bring this awareness to the consumer, the more it helps to add value and value perception of millets being taken to the next level. Second is, I think, in terms of convenience, the more and more we make the convenient products to them as an organization or a food business operators, it will help us to bring in value enhancement to millets. That's something which we can do as an organization or a food business operators. And also, I think Dr. Madhvi briefly touched upon gut health as a space. And that's something which sees a lot of traction in dairy segment, probiotics being kind of going all over in terms of as a business model, wherein millets could also serve the same space. The awareness is what we need to bring in. And that's something which we as a group, including IIMR support, can drive, because fibers, millets are a good source of fiber, and fibers can be a good source of probiotic or prebiotic kind of status that helps us to kind of generate relevant products which can be positioned to the consumers and hence take the value to the next level on millets being made offered or made relevant to the consumers. In terms of challenges, I think a couple of you have called out as an industry where we face the challenge. I think the FSSAI norms on flours and millets is something which we need to really look at. Sometimes it becomes really challenging for us to source compliant product from local as well as small time millers, because majority of them do not understand the way the industry has progressed on wheat or rice. So that's a challenge. We continue to face challenges in terms of storage or bulk handling of millets, which is an essential integrated supply chain model in terms of safety, quality, and shelf life, which actually kind of hinders food business operators like us to generate more and more products out of it. Because when you have a back end which is struggling, it doesn't make sense to pitch products in the front end, which kind of puts a lot of pressure on the back end side of the organization. So that's an element which kind of becomes a problem. And if we as an organization can influence FSSAI, which will help us a great deal in terms of making the products relevant and helps pitch the options to the consumers. Second, I think, is about getting the claim support. I think most Dr. Dhriti and Madhvi have touched this briefly. I would second, the more and more we put substantiated or clinically proven kind of results onto millets, which helps us to kind of latch on to those proven ingredient-based claims to generate more and more products containing those ingredients at a level which will support us claims, which increases the value of the products which are being offered. So as a food business operators, I think this kind of environment which is coexisting or helps everyone in the space will kind of drive the millet's relevance as well as popularity to the Indian consumers. Everyone is aware of the nutrition and the goodness of millets. How do we make them more relevant and add value is what kind of takes this millets to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghu. Thank you very much. I believe we don't have Amitabh, right? Is Amitabh has logged in?
Sir, he's not there, sir.
Is not there. So may I request Vishnu to give your opinion, please?
A very good evening to everybody present here. Thank you, Joanna, and thank you, Dr. Dayakar Rao, for inviting me here today. And I am representing Big Basket today. And I had the private label business on gourmet and health foods at Big Basket. So just to give you an insight on what we are doing at Big Basket and how the journey all began. It started in the year of 2016 and 17, where we thought that we should have a miracle focus on millets and millet-based products. So that's when we started off with the whole journey of millets and started selling the commoditized products of millets. And later we thought there is a requirement of bringing value addition products. And that's where we started working on bringing a lot of value added products. We have been actively participating in Karnataka, Bangalore at the International Millet Trade Fair, where 2 times our products were launched by the Agricultural Minister. Just to give you a bit of heads up on what we currently do as a business. If you look at millet as a whole category in Big Basket, about 80 to 85% comes from only commodity-based product. And hardly about 12 to 13% is coming from value-added products. So this is where the major focus, as mentioned by Mr. Ganesh and also mentioned by Mr. Suhas Joshi, that glamorizing the product is very important. And until and unless you value add a product, it is very difficult to build that category. And that's where we thought that we should get away from this only selling commodity based product and start coming up with a lot of value added products. So today, roughly we have about 40 to 50 products in millet based products. Just to name a few, we started off with millet ready to cook products similar to dosa mixers, idli mixers, and also we came up with millet-based breakfast cereals, which is an alternative to cornflakes, and we started promoting millet and combination of quinoa, both breakfast, which did phenomenally very good for us. And also in line, we also launched snacking. We felt that snacking brings a lot of attachment to any of the categories, and we thought that there is a need of developing some of the snacking based products. And today we have launched about 10 extruded snacks, which is under different kind of flavors, which is at least minimum having 20 to 25% of millets. And we sell about at least 8,000 pieces a day, which is a remarkably a very high number as a snacking based product, which was launched a year back. We started off with 200 pieces selling a day, and today when we look back, we feel a bit of sense of accomplishment that we have created something good. So that gave us more confidence to get into more of snacking products. So on its way, we are also working towards launching millet and brown based pop chips, which are again flavored into different seasonings. We're coming up with that. And we're also giving an alternative to masala oats. Why should you just have masala oats? Why can't we do something with millets, brown rice and oats together? So now we're coming up with millet based oats, and we'll be having at least 30% of different forms of millets, which is jowar, little millet and barnyard, which we'll be using in that. And again, we wanted to also bring in different types of snacking products, which is millet murukkos, millet nippattu, and all those things in South India. And also similarly like that, which we are bringing in North India, which is an alternative to maida-based namkeens, which sells the most in North India as well. So these are some of the products which are in the pipeline, to just to give a big baskets perspective. Some of the challenges which we face as an organization is because of these vernacular names. All millets have different kinds of names in different states. It becomes so difficult for somebody in Karnataka to understand ragi. It becomes somebody in North to understand ragi. Same goes with sorghum. Sorghum is a national name, in an English given name, but same thing in North. If you go, people wouldn't understand, and they will say, if it is bajra, bajra hai. So bajra is a very common name. So similarly, vernacular names have become a very difficult challenge for us. Somewhere we feel that institutes like IHT and ICRISAT and all can come together and conduct a global national campaign and provide one unique name, which will help us as a brand marketeers to promote these category products on a nationwide, which today also we are doing, but positioning under our own brand name. So we have created a brand called Good Diet, which Good Diet stands for a healthy alternative, a healthy lifestyle, and a guilt-free snacking option. So with this, I just conclude my 2 cents of information which I wanted to share.
Thank you very much, Vishnu. Now the most important and interesting part, the interactive part. I would like to hand over to Hemendra for this. Hemendra, please take it forward from here.
Indeed, thanks Suhas, and thanks to Dayakar and Nazneen for organizing this wonderful forum. I myself is a big brand ambassador for millets, and I think we need an army of ambassadors who can champion for millets. I think that's for sure. I always say that, with Green Revolution, we pushed wheat and rice, and of course we achieved food security, but I think millets was a big loss. And it's time to rectify our mistake and make millets mainstream. So I think that's the whole idea, man. I'm so happy to hear all of you today on the panel, about your bullishness about this category. I think this is very, very heartening. And I think as a country, we actually need it more than ever before. We are a diabetic country. We are a country where we are water starved, where a lot of water is wasted in agriculture. And millet is an ideal solution, which consumes less water, has no glycemic index, has phenomenal nutritional properties. And if you are moving from the concept of food security to nutritional security, I think millet fits in very well, right? Now, that's the opportunity, but the challenges, and I think all of you highlighted that. But my question to all of you, what are the top 3 things that we need to do to move millets from, if I can call it a niche category, to a mainstream category, right? Is it more R&D? Is it more product development? is it running a campaign, like we ran for X, Sunday ho ya Monday khao Monday? Do we need a national level campaign between public institutions and private institutions? Vishnu mentioned about the regional variation, even in terms of understanding of what type of millet. Do we need an umbrella brand, or do we need a region specific brand? Do we need more partnership with startups? So if you have any idea, what about 2 or 3 things which we jointly can do to promote millet as a category? That'll be good to hear. Anyone can come in, Ganesh, Vagvi, Vishnu, Raghuram.
Thanks, Hemendra. See, I'll say that there are brand owners, and they have their product propositions, and they have their consumers whom they would like to connect with for their brand reasons. But I think as a millet community, and what IIMR stands for, and what the massive effort at the back end that has happened, we as a country will do very well if we identify a couple of champion millets and take this to a next level of integrating good scientific clinical research and connect 1 or 2 propositions, right? Whether it is just blood sugar, or whether it is as good as milk kind of calcium, or the iron that is most bioaccessible to the human body. We have fundamental clinical research, and that just proves the Indian, say, sorghum or Indian ragi or Indian one of these millets, and a couple of them maybe, because there are different agroclimatic regions as well, and move this to the next level of why Indian ragi is so popular world over, or Indian amaranth can be better than quinoa in its nutrition deliveries. So that's one definite plank that forums like this can initiate and work along with the government and definitely do. The second is, and I'm sort of leaving the brand owners to popularize and develop their consumers through different routes, whether it's the ready-to-eat format, whether it's the baked format, the snack format. There can be many formats in which there are certain things that I heard in the afternoon session, that the whole millet per se, and the cooking of whole millet per se, retains nutritional properties best. Now, that is an area, then how do we then incorporate that, and people are not living in partial extractions and passing it off as a whole millet. So, the consumer is not being cheated of that. So those are some securities that one must put into play if it is so required. Third, I would say that the farmer is the person who's going to drive the value chain. And therefore, the more we do to drive up the value at the consumer end, will the flow through to the farmer be more. Otherwise, it will always be stuck in a loop of subsidy or midday meal scheme, or as if it's a poor man's crop. But no, actually it is a wholesome, nutritious plant based nutritional cereal, and that's how it should be treated. So I would say that these are some of the aspects that we can focus on through these forums. The marketing organizations work to develop convenient solutions for the consumer, and within the rules and regulations of FSSAI in an ethical manner. And we don't overprocess these millets so that the nutritional properties are not lost, and therefore pass on the benefits of the product. So there is another level of product development work of how to retain the nutrition and deliver it back into the consumer in the various propositions per se. The other thing that I heard is, if we decide on one or two champion millets for the country, then what I picked up, then we pick up the right varieties and have the right farming programs, and ITC keeps working with the farmers at the back end, and we keep developing, whether it's our spices or our wheat programs or our soya programs. So that we have many of these programs. And how do we have this double iron or double calcium varieties of millets popularized and taken to the next level? And so it's an integrated approach that I would suggest to the group, and therefore we take this to a larger level, and it benefits not only the value chain, it benefits the country, and it builds the brand image of India.
Thanks, Ganesh. I mean, it's a very valid point. Figuring out champion millets and working upon it is a great idea. I also like the idea of sort of moving it away from the positioning of women's food to aspirational food, right? I think that is one mistake which we have done. I remember this example of nano car. Tata said, the biggest mistake they did was that position it as the cheapest car. Had it been aspirational car, probably it would have done much better. So I think we should see what's the right positioning. And you're right, I think, to make it aspirational for kids, for housewives, for millennials in particular. How do we sort of change that mindset that it is for everyone?
Am I not able to hear, or is everywhere?
Am I audible?
Yes, to me, you are audible, Hemendra.
Sorry.
Slight distortion, but it is audible. No problem.
Madhuri, Vishnu, or Ram, Dhruti, you want to add anything to what Ganesh said? I think you made a array of points which are very, very relevant. You want to add to it?
Unmute, madam.
I'm fine. I can't get the question. I think your audio is a little weak.
Okay. What I was asking in terms of making this brand, moving it from niche to mainstream, what are the steps that we should be taking? And I think Ganesh made some relevant points in terms of identifying some champion millets, building supply chain, identifying the right varieties, and things like that. So I just wanted to check, ask you, do you have any additional points on how to popularize millets so that it moves from a niche category to a mainstream category?
The problem is actually it was used to be mainstream, and so I'll just relate a very nice anecdote, because my driver is from Jharkhand, and one day he told me they do this agriculture for Mandua. So actually, I think somebody rightly said, right, that we have different names across. And for me, it took time. So I did a search and found out Mandua is ragi. So I said, "Arey, tum mere liye leke aao, why don't you get it for me?" So he started laughing. He is telling me, "Are you poor? Are you going to eat this? Are you going to eat?" And he came from village and he got me 10 kilos of processed atta from his farm. And that I have never tasted such good tasting ragi, okay, because I eat it. But coming back to your question, right, it is today seen as poor man's food, unfortunately. So his own wife actually didn't give that for weaning his own children. They went into other kinds of weaning foods and, available biscuits with milk and things like that, which is nothing wrong. But I'm just saying that if we have to really popularize this, it has to have a glam quotient, like quinoa has. And I think Mr. Ganesh rightly put it, that, amaranth today is like much more nutritious than quinoa, but why isn't it really, really having that salience with people? So I think the whole thing is all about building stories which are very aspirational around, and that is mass communication. Industry will obviously do it because they have spent the money in actually developing a product and will do mass media around that. But I think if we want the average consumer to eat, there will have to be mass communication on nutrition benefits, which are basically relatable to them. That this is the problem in the society today, and this is how you will benefit. This is something that I feel, and to make it acceptable. If you want the millennials, and I think we have had a lot of people actually stress those points to me.
So, you take something?
Chairman, I have one small point to make here. All those who are interested in millets, millet propagation, and millet utilization, widespread utilization, we should somehow do something to subsidize the millets. Otherwise, the price of millets is one of the hindrance now. It's more than rice. So it should be not less than 25 rupees per kilo, then the consumption will automatically increase. This is what I am suggesting.
Can it be part of the public distribution system to start with?
Something like that, right?
You know, Government of India can start actually getting it back into the houses.
Can't we possibly consider the pricing left to the market forces, since all the capital is sitting around the table?
I wouldn't like to consider myself or the organization as a capitalist, but I can only tell you one thing, that if we believe in the philosophy of subsidy, then the farmer will never get full value or the same. So the produce must be able to create a demand. And that is why I'm urging this community that we do a bit of research and take the next value-added step and market this product beyond a commodity. And in that is the redemption for millets. And I believe that millet, in fact, our product is called Ashirvad's Nature's Superfoods multi-millet mix. Ashirvad, Nature's Superfood, gluten-free. You know, the moment you're able to take it to the next level and pull more value and provide more value to the consumer, the farmer will benefit. He will be more interested in cropping it. He will bring in the better seeds. He will try to enhance his yields. So it needs to be a 360 approach. And I believe that there could be a little bit from consumer insight driven research that helps developing products to put it out into the market, that takes it to the next level.
I have just one point to add, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is actually, millets have been discontinued for the past 6 decades. Now the transition period that is happening now. Now it is something like today's context, it's a chicken and egg story. We want to create demand. I was telling in the earlier session also, both the production and consumption markets are disconnected. So we are trying to narrow down, and it's a process. It's happening it. So, but I think the point which we were discussing is moving away from poor man's crop to rich man's diet. So I think it is going in a right direction, in the sense, perhaps after a little while, when the demand and supply are going to be matched, because once we ensure that the farmers are getting a better price than the current price, or the producer is getting a better share of the consumer rupee, perhaps definitely the millet cultivation is going to enhance. I think this is what the point which we all need to be concerned when we are really farmer oriented. If that goes and the higher production comes, then the prices will automatically come down. So this is what I think we need to understand while doing so. That and second aspect is that, you know, that the rural consumption is coming down while the urban consumption is going up gradually. So what it means, you know, that the economic theory says the demonstration effect, when they tend to imitate the rich, poor man tend to imitate the rich, developed countries are being imitated by the developing nations. So that thing is happening. Once people identify it's a Amitabh is eating, or my boss is eating, Madhavi is eating, then I'm sure that it goes down automatically. So then they create value for that. So I think that is what the point which drives us. It is in the process and it is happening now. But I think it has to happen at little more gradual. We all are thinking, and it is a very vicious thinking that which we are going in a very positive direction. I think we will achieve this. This is what my gut feeling says.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with you, Dr. Dayakar. In fact, whatever you said makes good sense, and it is this kind of an approach that will, you know, make this re-popular, if I could put it in. You know, it is a traditional food that needs to come back in a manner that is relevant to the 2000 and the millennium per se.
To create a value, sir, for today's context in Food Security Act, they said that 1 rupee per sorghum, bajra and all this. People, it is not become a very big popular measure in terms, though it's available, people buy that and use it for something else. So they find that outside sorghum price is 40 rupees, they go and sell that and get that, rather than they consume it. So that sort of a sensitization has to happen to take it down the grassroots level. We have been struggling with it, but it is like a chicken and egg story. And private people, all you players are going to play a very big role to take this way, because one is that campaigning has to happen both public and private sector. Some sort of an investment come and take as a commodity promotion and take it that maybe in your CSR or I don't know which level you can do that. This is what it is called. Definitely, we can also work on some of the clinical studies. Indian Institute of Millet Research has already floated, and we have got an ethical committee permission to conduct the clinical research. I think with ID and many other partners who are there, we are going to come with a credible results for you. So why not we partner? That is what my point is. I leave it there.
Well, what
From a demand creation perspective, do you see role of startups? Because I saw so many startups out of NutriHub doing very interesting work on millet-based chocolates, millet-based laddus, and there's so many categories that you have been developing at the institute. Do you see a opportunity for such products to go to the mass markets? I think you are the best one to answer it because you've seen so many startups.
Sir, Ganesh, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. See, coming from the concept of marketing, the more it is talked about, the more it will become popular. The more it will become, discussed and therefore adopted. So I think like any startup area, if there are 20 startups, 3 will succeed and 4 will succeed. And all 20 would have talked about the product and popularized it to their effect. So startups have their own role in business development and growth, and it is for the startups to develop their value proposition so that they succeed in their business as they see it. And so I'm coming about it in a perfectionist market environment. And yes, startups do have a role, and that will necessarily drive, because everyone will drive their business with a motive of succeeding. And if it is in the space of millets and value-added products, why will it not? So I welcome the whole role of startups in this area. I don't
just to put a sorry.
Yeah, but
so just to put a retailer's perspective, Big Basket is one of the largest seller of millet and millet-based products in the country today. And as pointed out by Mr. Ganesh rightly, we need champion millets. So if I look at some data over here, 55 to 60% is contributed by major millets, and about 40% is coming from minor and pseudo millets. So if you look at major millets, that of course comprises of your ragi, jowar and bajra, and out of which there is an expectation to come out with a value-added product, which we are already coming up with in our private label brands. On the other hand, we are also encouraging a lot of startups to onboard on Big Basket, sell regionally and nationally. And we also have a couple of programs called BB Growth and BB Accelerate programs for startups. So BB Accelerate program is for those brands which are new in the market, new startup, to handhold them to make them grow larger. And BB Growth program is for some of the brands which are already in the business in the last 3-4 years and who also have a medical focus on building certain categories to certain level. So that is one side of aspect. Another side of aspect is on the buying behavior of consumer. What we have seen in the recent trend, at least we have 1 million people who come to our portal searching the word called millet or a millet-based product. So that is quite a large number that we are seeing. So today I'm limited to sell my products only on online platform. So that's the whole game which I can look at, promoting the categories of products which Big Basket, we as a company develop. And apart from that, in terms of purchase decision, this is not an impulse product. So this actually consumer makes an informed purchase decision. So today, consumers are so inquisitive. We get some of the reviews on the products where consumers specifically ask certain questions. You have named your product as ragi sticks, but I don't see the percentage of ragi that you have mentioned in the BOP. But as per mandate, that is essential to be mentioned. So these are some of the very inquisitive customers that we have who are making an informed purchase decision. So we cannot treat this as an impulse category at all. Millet value-added products. There should be premiumization, which is what we in Big Basket and private label have completely focused ourselves in ensuring that we create a premium product out of it. So today, if I've created any product, it is not similar or equivalent to a national brand in terms of pricing. I charge a higher price. I charge a premium price. But now in order to further to come up with new categories, we would definitely require support in terms of having some clinical research claims, which we can call out on the products, which makes a consumer to do an informed purchase decision. Thank you.
Vishnu, we are very well placed on doing some consumer research on millets. What profile of consumers are buying millets, and what are the motives? I think it's something which will be really helpful for the industry if you can dig out some interesting data points around people who are ordering products.
As I said, out of this 1 million customer base who are coming, who are typing the products in different forms are like healthy snacking, guilt-free snacking, millet, and somebody even type ragi as a snacking product. Somebody type bajra as a snacking product. So we have different kinds of consumers. Of course, the consumers I would say are the platinum customers who are ready to pay a premium price and who are ready to accept a new category. But there were still challenges in terms of we have graded our customers as platinum, gold, and silver. So based on the purchasing buying behavior in terms of their bill values. So silver is a large chunk of segment where still people are very price conscious and very price sensitive. And even a small change in the price will affect their buying decision patterns unless there is a clear communication on what the product stands for and what the benefit they get.
One last question. I'm conscious of time. Raghuram, I think MTR is known for snacking products. Do you see potential for millets as part of healthy snack positioning? I believe healthy snacking is something a lot of brands are sort of focusing on. We don't have too many healthy options when it comes to snacking. We end up eating samosa and stuff like that. But do you think that there is an opportunity to integrate millets with healthy snacking options?
Yeah, I think probably I'll summarize what my point of view on making millets familiar to consumer. I think most of you said that how we make millets more compelling for consumers to buy out is an element. I think clinical research or to champion millets being kind of called out for health benefits, specifically targeted to a gut health or specifically better in iron availability, etc., will help us pick it up, which is reason to believe for consumers to value premiumize. And also, I think one of the suggestion, it could be kind of an element to look at top parity kind of comparison with mainstream cereals. Like if millets are definitely good in nutrition and superiority wise, why not make a top parity claim of comparing 2 or 3 millets with the mainstream cereals like rice and wheat, and then make it popularized, which will also help consumers to make an informed choice of better nutrition while they spend maybe lower or similar kind of cost, which will bring the value proposition up to the consumer. And coming to your point of view, I think on taking MTR's view, I think we definitely have millets as an area to kind of work towards. We have been working on ready to cook and ready to eat formats, which is relevant to more and more consumers from a value proposition perspective. Obviously, we are driven by appeal to most of the housewife. Our category of products which we sell talks to a lot of housewives very easily, and our ambition is to move away from the traditional household consumers who are also kind of very core and loyal to us, to also expand our footprints to millennials. And that's a space which we are definitely looking at, and hence bring in more convenient or hyper convenient solutions. And in that space, we definitely have millets as one of the watch out. And as you rightly said, we do have a lot of snack portfolio, which we had, Unfortunately, we kind of exited that category as a space for, I think, for two reasons. One is from a health and nutrition perspective, our parent company has a belief on value proposition on being healthy and everyday product being sold to consumers. That's our belief. Nonetheless, I think one of the space which we have as attractive space for us is traditional Indian household dishes, which is made with millets, is a space which we are definitely looking at, and it's a relevant space for us. And we do not want to miss out on those offerings which will bring excitement at the same time nutrition combined together.
Yes, that.
Yes, sir.
On to my last submission, I just want to tell that Indian Institute of Millet Research, it's a basically core crop improvement institute. But in the context of this commercialization, how we can be useful to you is that what you are using is the market available variety or cultivar, which farmer normally was used to over years, and that he was grown. But now the research has advanced and we have brought out very specialty things. Now, for example, a pearl millet with a high iron content, double iron content, or supposedly I take a case of, in sorghum or jowar, there are kharif and rabi cultivars. Perhaps the market is not really just, may not distinguish, or you find an adulterated thing, But if you see that if you want to cut down the ingredient costs, supposedly for you want to make cookies out of this thing. Most of them they are using for the cookies some certain type of, say for Rabi season based cultivars. But there is a price parity between Rabi and Kharif 20%. And we have some very specialty cultivars which are in hybrid that are grown in Kharif also, which would cost you 30% less. Your raw material cost has come down so drastically. So it is basically that our disconnect between the industry and the technological institute like Indian Institute of Millet Research is causing that losses. Perhaps you can cut down your costs drastically, because the core raw material ingredient, what are that latest developments that are happening, which we need to understand, that the bioavailability cultivars or a specialty only for cookies. Now, if you go for the hard endosperm types are very important. Now, for example, that is used for your rava or suji making and all this. So that is why you want to use a higher costly one rather than less costly one. So we can give you that through such type of a very specialty information. Let us come together and then take things forward. See, this is not for any personal gain, but for the millet promotion I'm talking about this. So I think it's the time, high time that perhaps this is a very short time that we could discuss these things, but to get into these technicalities and understanding a collaboration, before that we may have one full day industry meet specifically on that. I hope that all of you got the message, and next time when I call you, please respond. For just at least a half a day session, we will talk on this thing and take it forward. And let us collaborate and take this thing. Much of our problems, I'm sure that if we only get connected, it would be easily resolved. And that we are going to offer value to you. Your product cost will come down. Your profits, I'm sure that they are going to end. Our social responsibility of reaching to the masses also will be attained. If you go for ragi, jowar, bajra, they are about 25 rupees or 30 rupees per kg. But if you go for other grains, I think small millets, they are very expensive. So our supply chain, these three grains are 95% of the total production. So I think we need to think about that in the supply chain. So when you plan, these aspects all need to be built in so that you can be more stable in the business. Now we have acquired some business parlance also. So I'm just putting a word to you, sir. To all of you, in fact. Thank you.
Definitely, Raghav, I think you need to play a very catalytic role. I can clearly see IMR with so much of understanding of this space. I think you can be a big resource for the industry. So no question about it. So I think we come to the end of the session. Clearly, there's a need for collaborative effort between all of us to make millets mainstream. Suhas, over to you for making the final comments.
I will keep it very short and quick. The first thing I would like to say that the candid and frank conversation we had was very interesting, and actually 1 hour was very less. Next time we should have at least 2 to 3 hours of just brainstorming and not a webinar or not a panel discussion, but just brainstorming with all these panelists. Just quick two things. The takeaway for me is collaboration and being market driven. It would be important for IIMR also to be market driven, more approachable for the industry, more collaborative, and also for the industry. It would be important to be more engage closely with IIMR going forward. With this, I again hand it over to Hemendra.
Thank you. No, thanks very much. Thanks to all the panelists, and definitely we need a half a day of all the panelists with Dayakar and Nazneen definitely as to be present throughout the session. And Dayakarji, I will also request you to introduce some of your startups at NutriHub to the industry players. I think will benefit a lot. You know, we all are working in silos. I think we should come together and let's not leave them. They have worked over 2 years, 3 years, built very interesting products. I think there's a lot to learn from them. So let's not leave our startup ecosystem outside our sort of, you know, outside our mission of for promoting millets. I think they are needed. So we bring them together in single platform and hopefully solve a lot of problems that we see as of today and make millets a great category. Thank you.
It should be a complementary win-win situation for both of them. We'll do that in next time, sir. So we will be able to